Ottawa Real Estate Market Update, September 2025. Typically what we're going to do is we're going to look at what the board gave us for numbers looking at September 2025 versus September 2024, looking at the year-over-year change in the average price, units, inventory, sales. But then we're going to dive into what are we seeing month by month, what is the market trends, what can we expect to see in the months going forward. So let's get into it. The average price of a home in September of 2025 was $690,000. So that's up 0.3%, basically the same thing it was in September of 2024. The listed sold price down 0.2%. So essentially, again, the same thing. Average home selling for about 98% of asking price. The units sold was up. We saw 2.5% more at 1,089 units. And the days on market was up 4.5% at 23 days on market. So taking a look at these numbers, it looks pretty stable compared to September of last year. But then let's take a look at the inventory, and we get to see a little bit of a different change here. So months of inventory. Months of inventory is up 19%. I'm sorry, total inventory. Total inventory is up 19%. So we saw 4,388 homes for sale at the end of September. And months of inventory is up 14.29%. And we're sitting about 4 months of inventory. New listings also up just over 19% for 2,832 homes that got listed in September. All right, so when we're taking a look at that, it's going to give us a picture of where we're looking at compared to last year. But anyone who's been watching these videos knows that we get the full story by looking at really what's going on month by month. And so you're going to see a small discrepancy in these numbers because this is numbers that are given to us by the board, and we take a look at these, but then we have a different software program that pulls up the numbers of the Ottawa Real Estate Board, and they see things a little bit differently. So let's take a look at what reality is saying. Here's a look at what reality is reporting for the average home price. So we're seeing it at 610 compared to the 690 that this saw. So the main reason for the difference is that the real estate board is looking at the residential sales being separate from the condo sales, and reality is plugging them all in together. So this is going to look at the average price of all homes across all property classes in the city of Ottawa. And so where we saw residential properties increase by 0.2%, we saw overall properties decrease by 3%. But as you can see here, it's a very similar price, September 24, 630, and then 610 for this year. So when you take a look at those two numbers, what does that really tell us? That tells us that residential home sales, so freehold properties, they've actually come up a little bit or stayed the same. Whereas when you put in the condos, you see the average price has gone down 3%, meaning that condos have likely gone down more than that. Now here we look at the average price of a home and how it changes month by month. So you can see that this year the actual average price peaked at $668 back in June, and where it sits at $610 today and $630 this time last year. Now if we take a look and we go, let's go 4 years back. Actually, let's go back to 2021, and where we take a look at the average prices. So one major difference that we're going to see this year is that typically we see prices bottom out in August and then have a jump back in September. So we saw that last year in 24. We saw that the year before in 23. We even saw that in 2022 when interest rates were still increasing this entire time. And we saw it in 2021. So this is the first time in the last 5 years that we've actually seen the average price not make a jump from August to September. And that is going to be similar to what we're going to see in the actual units sold. So you can see the units sold, we typically see, well, a little bit different. Some years we see a bump, some years we don't. This year we did not. What else are we going to look at is the days on market. So you can see here, the days on market typically sits its highest in December, January, And right now, reality is showing at 41 days. So you can see again, there's another discrepancy based on what we looked at. The Ottawa Real Estate Board saying that freehold properties were sitting about average 23 days on market. Well, when we throw in the condos and we look at all property classes, we're actually sitting at about 41. So what does this really mean? Well, it depends what you're looking to do in the market, and depends obviously what type of property you're looking for. But right now, we actually are at a pretty opportune time for certain buyers right now. So we're looking at seeing the average price coming down pretty significantly over the last 4 months. And if we look at the typical trends, again, let's pull it back to the average price. You can see that typically we actually see prices decrease for the rest of the year. They typically bottom out in December, January, before the spring market hits again. So right now we are seeing the inventory rise. We're seeing the average days on market on the rise. We're seeing the average price on the decline, but we're also seeing interest rates on the decline. So we saw a recent interest rate drop with another one expected soon before the end of the year. And so it is an opportune time when someone's looking at buying, looking for that right time to get a deal. Is now the time you're looking for. Without sounding too salesy, I would have to say yes. Everything that we're looking at right now, we're seeing the best deals happen in the next few months. Also with interest rates coming down, it's a great time. Typically what we see again is we see sales go down, average price go down because buyer demand starts to dwindle as we get into the fall and the winter. Less people looking to make a move. But we also see a lot of the listings right now that say you listed your home. Let's go back here. Say you listed your home in the spring, right? And the average price was sitting here 640, 660, 670. And now you're looking, the average price is 610. Well, again, this is an opportunity for buyers to get a great deal, because if you need to sell, you're going to have to sell for whatever the buyers are offering you in this market. And some people will sell for lower than their neighbors, and that is why you see the average price decline this time of year. But at the same time, what we're going to see is we're going to see a lot of these sellers who don't need to sell, and they're going to see their neighbors, like everyone right now is sitting on the market and they're not really selling, and they're going to start to see their neighbors sell for less, and they're going to decide, you know what, I'm actually not going to move this year, I'm not going to sell, or maybe I'm going to rent it out. And so you're going to see a lot of people, either you see the home sell or you see the listing actually cancel. And then we start the new year with less listings, right? So a lot of listings that didn't sell, they're still going to cancel. The ones that need to sell, they're going to go. And a lot less people list their home this time of year because of multiple different factors, the price being one, demand being another, and people not wanting to move in the winter, right? So this where it gears us all up again for the spring market, where you see prices every year, steep incline, because that is where the buyer demand comes back, and you see a lot more sales happening. Now, if you're a seller and you're wondering what is the right thing to do, well, you have to take a look at your home, right? Your specific type of property and the homes like it in the area, because some homes are still selling very fast. There are some areas, certain types of homes that there's still not inventory of, and there's quite a bit of buyer demand, and we still see homes in multiple offers. But if you are on the market, or if you're looking to list on the market because you need to sell, and you're looking at similar homes and they're sitting on the market or selling, taking a while to sell or selling for less, you're going to have to look at what you can actually get for the property and price it accordingly, because right now we are in a declining market. And so if you need to sell this year, if you need to sell in the next 3 months, you're going to want to aggressively price your property now as opposed to waiting. Because what can happen is you end up chasing the market, right? So if we're going to take a look again at the last 5 years, and let's look at 2024, 2023. You know, if you have not sold in September and you look at the average price, by the time it hits December, it's come down 30 grand. January, even more. Same thing last year. Look at September, 630. The price by December is 604. And then January is about the same. So waiting to drop the price could actually end up costing you a lot of money. So you need to really take a look at not what homes were selling for back in May, June, April, May, June. You need to look at what homes have sold for in August, September, if they've even sold, and figure out how do you get a sale quick as possible so that you are not chasing the market and you're not doing price drops too late, where by the time you drop the price to what you should have today, the market has now gone even lower and you get even less for your home. So this is the time of year that we see the market shift, and where both buyers and sellers have to be paying attention to what is going on, right? A buyer has a great opportunity to get a deal when no one else is looking, but a seller has a closing window of their opportunity to get the most amount of money that they can get in this market before it gets even worse. Again, I'm very optimistic on the auto real estate market next spring, but we have to look at what we see statistically, trends every single year this time of year. It only gets tougher to sell a home over the next 3-4 months, and then the whole process restarts as we start the year again with less inventory and more buyers, and we see the prices get crazy and the frenzy start again. So I hope you guys find this video helpful. Please let me know if there's anything that you'd want to see in the future, and I'll see you next month.